Hello, I'm Toycat, and welcome back to the video. Today I have another vlog style thing for you all. That's right, this isn't an accident where I hit record on the webcam with a wrong key or something. This is a very much intentional video where I want to talk directly at you, the camera, and actually the person behind it later on, about something that I guess is somewhat important to at least some of you out there, and that's a lot of sums already. But basically, you know, the demographics on this Toycat channel have always shocked me. There are people that say, hey Toycat, I'm 65 and I watch the videos to learn about the Minecraft stuff. And on the other end of things, there are people that say like, hey Toycat, I'm 8 and I love your stuff. And it's mind-blowing to me because, you know, I never really expected the videos would ever go to such a wide range on both ends. Like, that's so crazy to me. But basically, I figured, you know, if that is the case, why not give some advice to all of the people that say stuff in the comments, like, somewhere in between, like, oh, hey, Toycat, I'm, you know, I'm just about to pick some A-levels. What do you recommend? Do you have any advice for this, that, and that? Or some people say, like, oh, hey, Toycat, I'm about to start high school. Do you have any advice? And basically, I think that school really has this giant shifting point when you do hit the teenage years that I think changes everything, at least in my experience. And I figured, why not give some advice on how to survive that a little bit better that I figured would have been useful if old me could have found it. So yeah, this is horrible advice if you want to succeed better academically, but if you just get through high school and make it a better experience in general, then here is some advice that might help you out. So hopefully you all do enjoy the video. Like it if you do like it, because it helps out the channel, and let us know you do like the vloggy facecam style video things, and that also you like the YT dollar shirt, which I swear is an accident that I'm wearing this. It always happens when I'm recording just to make me look awful on the channel. But with that said, yeah, let's get straight into it, shall we? And let's start with the very, you know, key point here, which is that, like I said, when you hit, so when I say high school, because this video is probably something like surviving high school, I mean like 13 to like, let's call it like 17. I don't know what the actual ages of high school in America are, but I know over here it's like something like 13, 16, it's called like secondary school, and basically, yeah, I'm mostly talking about those ages, because there's this giant shift in so many different ways, and I think the biggest one is the fact that you need more free time, because there's so many more things you want to do with it, and that the school tries to take more of your time away from you, because at least at my school, and I know this is a really common thing, they'd have policies of like, every subject must set you this number of hours of homework a day, or like a week or something, and it's like, why is that a rule? Whose idea was that? But you know, because it's like a corporate policy, sometimes they really go hard on it, sometimes they wouldn't, and that meant that, you know, sometimes you'd have to get home and do like hours of homework, and no one wants to do that. No one's like, oh yeah, got some homework, super pumped to work through this. No one's thinking that. Everyone's thinking, I need to do this, otherwise I'll get a detention, or like I'll get yelled at, or whatever the reason is. But you know, basically I figured let's teach you how to get past that a little bit better. Because again, as a teenager, I really disagreed with homework. As an adult, I still do, because I think, like, you know, teaching people that these hours are your working hours, and then go home and work more because you are a slave to the system, I think that's bad personally. But yeah, basically, if you want to protest homework from within the system, here's how you do it. Again, this is bad advice if you just want to learn the stuff, do the stuff. But if you want to like get more time to yourself, here's how you actually do that. So first of all, find the loophole in the system. I think my school system just upgraded to an electronic, like, automatic system where basically if you didn't do homework, they hit a button and you got a detention. If you didn't go to the detention, that detention escalated, and it went up like 4 times, and if you didn't go to the last end detention, it would just vanish off the system. So I found a loophole in that way, and for like the first 2 years, I didn't have to do homework. Wonderful system, and maybe you should try it out yourself. But assuming that you don't think there's a glitch, or you're not willing to go through the risk, or you're in a school that doesn't have an automatic system, there are lots of other things you can do to kind of beat the system. So the first one is work out teachers that don't punish you for not doing homework. There was always a lot of them at my school, because bear in mind, a lot of these teachers don't agree with homework either, but they're like corporately mandated to say, oh yeah, let's set all this homework and then collect it or whatever. A lot of teachers just wouldn't care, and they'd be like, whatever, it's fine, you know. So first of all, find out those teachers, because you're not going to be wasting time on homework that's not essential. Second of all, I recommend trying to find the easiest way to get through the stuff, because if you're spending an hour doing homework to avoid a half-hour detention, that's not very efficient in my opinion. If you're spending like an hour, on any piece of work is probably a bit too much. So always try and find the minimum that you can do. So for instance, if you're doing like let's use maths as an easy example, because it's always like binary yes/no stuff. Let's say they set you 10 questions to do 5 of them. See how they react to that, you know? Like, if you do half your homework, can they really punish you for not doing homework? You gave it your best try, or, you know, whatever you need to do. If that isn't enough, try doing 70% of things. If so, you've just saved yourself 30% of that time. You know, try to find the boundaries is what I'm saying, and you can kind of push them. So again, it's this is the sort of thing that will frustrate some people. So like, some teachers you're gonna learn that, yeah, just do all that stuff. But some teachers, like, every teacher has their own kind of boundaries to like what's acceptable and what's not. And I think that's a good one. But yeah, beyond just like saying like, okay, so try not to do it, see what happens. If that goes badly, try to do half it, see what happens. If that goes badly, the next step, this one's a bit drastic because it can go very poorly and have some results. But the next step is like, okay, if they insist on doing homework that's just irrelevant and not worth your time, fill it in randomly. This is a fun one that like actually would work a surprising amount of the time, because you know, let's say you set 10 maths questions. If you just fill in random numbers, then you can be like, oh, I'm sorry, I got them wrong. I tried my hardest. You can't be punished for getting your homework wrong, can you? And that's the final little tip right here. So yeah, again, this is the sort of thing that'll like make some. Again, so the every like teacher has their own kind of like variance on like what they think about the whole thing, but I found that was the one that was like most ridiculous to me, at least. Like everyone would have their own kind of standards on this and that. Find out what those standards are and try and like implement the loopholes, because you need that time. You want to go like I guess like hang out a lot more with friends, because that's what you do as a teenager. You want to like watch your Toy Cat videos, apparently. You want to play video games, all that stuff. You can't do it all and do homework, so you're gonna make sacrifices, and I think that's the best way to do it. So, assuming you know that you got that down, you're like, okay, I either like doing homework, or I think it's fine, or you know, I've already worked out the system. What else do I recommend? So the next thing is the fact, my favorite thing about actually the shift to like, again, I'm gonna call it high school, but the shift to that kind of thing is that basically the people who like up until you're like 12 or 13 or something in school, at least at my schools, it was always the people who are just like the worst, or like the rudest, or the baddest, if that's even a word. They would always be the ones that were like, I guess not considered cool, but like, yeah, in a way cool, and like the ones everyone was like centered around. But when you move into like being older, people value your actual qualities as a person, which is kind of nice in a way. There's still like some cliquiness to it, I think, but yeah, people start to value a little bit more just if you're interesting, or if you're funny, or whatever. And if you're boring, or if you're that, then people value a little bit less. And the reason I say this, at least again, my experience might be different for all of you. The reason I say that is because you can kind of use that to your advantage, in that like, if you're having problems with other people, the easiest way to avoid this, so you might be too late into the system, but if someone like says something that's vaguely insulting to you, if you act offended, that's what they kind of want. Like, so yeah, if someone's like insulting you, and you're like, or whatever it is, you know, something that you find disrespectful, if you give them a strong reaction, that's what they're kind of looking for. But you know, at the same time, you can't just do nothing at the same time, because that's almost showing that you're doing nothing, that you're like, you know, offended, but you're trying to like weaken it down. So I find the best way to do it is to turn it around onto them and make it awkward. So someone's like, hey Toy Cat, your hair's so long. I mean, it's actually relatively long, but your hair's so long, right? And I'd just be like, oh really? Yeah. And if you like reverse onto them and like, oh god, I did an unfunny one, then it's like, because for some reason, I don't understand why this is, like, people do stuff to other people expecting certain emotional responses, but the one that like trumps them all is awkward. No one wants awkward as a response to anything, and if you can, it only really works with like one-on-one situations. If you can turn any like insult or anything like that you don't really like back into like kind of awkward at them, they'll be like, oh yeah, let's not do that again. And at least for me, this worked kind of well. Maybe there was other reasons behind it. Also, I can see my cat in the corner there. Maybe there were other reasons behind it too. But at least for me, that kind of just about worked. So yeah, with that said, should move around the back there. But with that said, let's move on to the final little piece of advice. Besides just, also actually on the subject of awkward, never be that person that's like, oh, it sure just got awkward here, because then no one will think like, this is the man behind the awkward. At least that's why I would always think. I'd be like, why would you say that? The moment you point out that it's awkward, it becomes awkward. Just a pro tip out there, in case you're that guy, don't stop right now. But wait, anyway, this was the final little tip for surviving high school that I think is useful, and that is, again, I'm saying high school, we don't actually call it that in the UK, just in case you're curious, but that final tip is probably to do with getting sleep, because this is another thing. I think it's actually a biological part of teenagers. Like, you get less and less sleep, but you need more and more sleep. Like, you might need 8 hours of sleep a night, but realistically, because there's the internet there, you're probably getting a lot less than that, right? Like, that's true of everyone I speak to that's, you know, somewhat teenage. And this means you need a lot of sleep, but you're not getting it. I think the best way to, like, get that sleep back, and this is awful advice, but it worked for me just about, so maybe it's not a very good endorsement, but basically it's to try and get some of that sleep back during school. So, first of all, it's the same tip of like, work out which lessons are most tolerant to you sleeping in them, because some teachers just wouldn't care, because it's like, I've got to deal with that kid like going over there setting up people's hair on fire, I've got to deal with that person who just spends the whole time like talking up it. I'm not going to deal with the person sleeping. He's doing a good job. That's what my one of my maths teachers would be like. She'd be like, you know what, he does all the work before he goes to sleep, and that's entirely fine. So yeah, I got away with it in that particular way. Certain teachers would just be like, you know what, he's probably tired, whatever. And I literally at some point in school, I was sleeping for like three hours off one of the days, and I got some of that sleep back, so that's useful. But I would recommend, in all seriousness, one, work out the lessons that you don't really need so much. So in the UK, you always need, I think it's English and maths, like, to get into any real job at some decent level, and you always need like a few other ones on top of that. But some subjects you do not to get qualifications, but to get these weird other ones. Work out the lessons that you don't need, and then sleep in those. And it might seem difficult to just sleep in a lesson, but here's the tip that really helped me out, because there's lots of positions you can learn to make it look like you're working, but you're actually sleeping, and no teacher ever wants to come around and call you out for sleeping if you're working really hard. So as long as you just, do it a few times to actually work, then eventually they'll get into the cycle of thinking, oh, he's just working so hard. So these positions, so the first one, this is the latest one, but it's the most comfortable way, is just put your arms out like that and sleep on top of it. That doesn't really look too much like working, it looks maybe like you're reading, but the one I found to be the best is resting your head in your hands, having like a pen in there too, like this, and just going to sleep like this, for instance, and you'd look like you were doing just about something. It was, if they came past too close, it'd be easy to see, but at least in the classrooms I had, it was never quite easy enough, and if you had a lot of work already, then suddenly, oh yeah, clearly you're just working more on that. So, yeah, final tip here is work out when and where to sleep in school, and then you get more of that sleep and time back. So, really, this was awful advice if you want to, again, if you want to succeed and probably bad advice, but if you want to grab more of your time for yourself, then learn to sleep in school, and learn how not to do homework, because I really think we should just, have like nap classes. We should have like a room you can go to if you want to nap at lunch instead of, eat lunch or whatever. And I think that we should have, no homework. I agree with that. And if you want to fight the system too, then maybe this video helped. Or maybe this was something that was entirely unproductive. Let me know what you think with the comments down below. Like it if you liked it. Share it if you really liked it. And I don't know how to subscribe in my hands, but subscribe if you're new around here, because I make videos like this one every single day on my channel, and if you subscribe, you'll see them daily on your homepage. Thank you all very much for watching, and goodbye.